What up, world? It's Fest back in the studio with Red Stripe Down and the Elektron model samples and cycles. We're going to be getting into these wonderful devices, but really we're going to be talking about Red Stripe Down's sample pack for the samples and for the cycles. And what's cool about the samples is you can download these samples and use them for whatever you got, whether it be Ableton or MPCs or any other samplers, but we got the model samples here, we got the model cycles. Man, I absolutely love the samples. I don't have the cycles, but I've had the samples for a while, and I mean, what more can I say? This is like everything that's great about Elektron in like a small frame package, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's all that you want from that sequencing package and that sound design thing, but with knob per function and obviously a much smaller footprint. It's easy to transport, it's easy to take around, and they're honestly quite unique. I find them to hold their own as their own instruments in the lineup with their other flagship machines. Despite their smaller size, it is by no means lesser of an instrument. I really am impressed. Yeah,
likewise.
Yeah.
Man, I've been an Elektron user for a while, as yourself. I had a machine drum, had the original Octatrack, had a Digitac, Digitone. Yeah. Those things are great, but when I got into the samples, it was like they put the best of all of those things, again, in this small frame with that one knob per function, which is one of my favorite things about this. It's not really a lot of menu diving that you have to do with this. Like on the samples particularly, you got the filter and the resonance right there. You have the delay right there. You have the pitch, decay, sample start and length, LFO control, and they even put on the control off function on here, which is only on like the machine drum. That control off function is clutch.
It's pretty clutch.
Yeah.
It's such a performative instrument. It just begs for touching and playing. And the pads, something I mentioned to you earlier, these velocity sensitive pads, they feel really great. And I kind of appreciate the silent button press.
Oh yeah.
A little bit with these, as we both have young kids, being able to jam in the bedroom with this is pretty dope.
Also too, you get all of the conditional trigger and like sequence functions that make Elektron gear famous for what it is. I kind of feel like that they really set the standard on like parameter per step sequencing and conditional triggers, as they would call them, wouldn't you say?
It's that little detail of their instruments that make them so unique. People might look at something like this and think, oh, I'm limited to 6 tracks. I can really only get so much out of it. But with being able to assign modulation and preset changes, sample changes, all of this stuff per step on each of the tracks, you can actually cover a lot more ground than it seems, at face value, for sure.
And even with 6 tracks, you get up to 64 steps. So when you combine a 64-step sequencer with their conditional triggers, where you could, really make a sequence from 64 steps to 128 steps if you wanted to, or you could also do lots of polyrhythmic stuff, as you could change the track scale per track. You could change it per pattern or per track. So you could make, one track 8 steps and then another 6 steps, or another one 16 and another one 12. You could do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting where it takes you sometimes, because it does program so differently, and it is very unique. Sometimes I find myself in compositional areas that I definitely wouldn't have gone otherwise.
Let's back up a little bit and talk about the actual specs of both of these devices. Some people don't really know the differences between the two, but with the samples, we have a 6-track sampler that could also be a 6-track MIDI sequencer, and you could upload your own samples into it. So to get you guys going, if you guys already have one of these, or if you just got one, why not you click the link below and download Red Stripe Down's sample pack for this model samples. And let's actually go through some of these sounds. Like, I was making some drum beats with this earlier, and yeah, these are like all your drums, man, that I kind of like spiced up my own way a little bit.
I thought they sounded pretty cool.
Dude, I kind of thought they sounded pretty cool as well. But again, when you're dealing with a sampler, you could kind of make samples your own, right? So this is, I don't even know if you knew what this was, like, because I pitched it down so much. Like, what was this? This sounds like some like pots or like.
Yeah, so this is the on tap. This is the on tap pack, right?
Yes, this is the on tap pack, yeah.
So yeah, you get
it's like beer bottles or like.
Yeah, it's I called it on tap because it's just tapping various objects, from pots and pans in my house to, I don't know, my children's toys, whatever. If it made a cool percussive sound, I was recording it and then kind of boiled them down, cleaned them up a little bit, and made them, you know, hopefully easy to use and fun to play with. But
yeah, for sure. No, they definitely are fun to play with.
It's kind of funny.
Another cool thing I love about this is the fact that it puts what they call re-triggering, or what I like to call ratchets or trills, like right hands on, right? You could take any one of these sounds, let's take this one, and go to re-trig and turn your re-trigger on. And now you could use the 16 buttons down here, which also act as like your pitch control or your actual keyboard, which is all laid out in semitones. But you could use those to trigger your re-triggered sample, and then you could just speed up your actual scale. And just do all those like trill rolls that are like becoming so popular now, and like, you know, lots of rap beats and like electronic stuff.
Sure.
And the cool thing is that model cycles is laid out almost the same way, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's literally a physical footprint. The knobs have a little bit, you know, different terminology and different functionality. Of course, it's a different instrument, but moving from one machine to the other is very easy. It is it's laid out the exact same, and all of those great rhythmic functions that Fess was talking about on the samples apply to the cycles and vice versa, which kind of brings me to this, and
right.
It's something that I didn't realize when I first started playing with it. As a Digatone owner, I kind of anticipated, or I'd thought of this more as a lighter version of that. And it's really not. It's, you know, when they use the term groovebox, it's very accurate. It's much more of a percussive oriented machine, using some of those FM synthesis ideas, but applied more directly to percussion.
It seems like it really simplifies FM, which is,
it really
quite
does.
honestly, I don't really use the Digitone as much as I should because I still can't wrap my head around fully with FM algorithms. I like to say I know what I'm doing when I'm noodling with that, but I really don't. But I figured that one, like, it really simplifies it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get that really nice, bright digital sound and that punch and that clarity, but it's easy to program. I'm not sitting there diving through menus to, again, it's knob per function.
Over there as far as like your model cycles pack, which, by the way, the model cycles pack from Red Stripe Down, it's only for the model cycles. It's not like the model samples where they're WAV files and you can use them on any other samples. This one is more proprietary to the cycles. So
yeah, it is. It's really made for the specifics of this machine. So the pack will include 64 sounds and a pretty good mix of all of the 6 machines in the cycle. So it's kind of broken down. I've got 6 tracks, I've got 6 separate sound machines, which can be applied to any one of the tracks at any time. But we've got a kick drum emulator, a percussion, a metal, which is used for cymbals, hats, rides, things of that nature, I've got a tone, a chord, and what am I missing here? Oh, the snare. Yeah. So I've got 6 separate machines.
And those are like your 6 separate tracks then, right?
Sure, absolutely. But if I, say I wanted 6 separate tonal synthesizers in here, I could set that up, or any combination of those 6 machines. One thing to note is that what we were jamming on is very parameter lock heavy, very Elektron sequencer feature heavy, and using a lot of those different presets that I've created for this machine, just to demonstrate.
Let me turn mine down. We got this synced up, so.
I've got one track that's active at the moment, and we can see its rhythmic action happening here via the LED. The rest of my tracks are muted, but we hear that there's a lot of different sonic things happening. There's a lot of different sounds and rhythms and all of that stuff, and that is, like we mentioned before, that parameter lock, that like per step sequencing that Elektron is really known for.
And only on one track.
This is one track, so I'll, as another good example, I'll bring in a drum track, and all of these sounds are coming from, again, one track. I've got hi-hats, kick drum, and snare, all on one track. All on one track.
Yeah. That's how you work in the Elektron environment. Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to lay that out, because you're only taking up 2 tracks, and you got all this rhythmic and just pitch changing stuff going on.
And as simple as muting tracks, bringing other things in, using some of those nice per trigger fill parameters, really nice way to get a little bit of variation in your performance by easily just pressing one button.
Now the filter is a little bit different on the cycles, is it not?
So there's not a filter on here per se, but using the 4 signature parameters, the color, the shape, the sweep, and the contour, all of which kind of shift functionality depending on which machine you're using, you can really shape your sound and dial in the set of harmonics and tonal qualities that you want. So there's not a traditional filter, which I kind of enjoy because it really asks you to get deeper with the machine and use your limited set of parameters to actually program.
Is there any sound from that cycles in the pack that you're releasing that, I don't know, you would say was kind of just blew you by surprise that you made? Like
yeah, actually, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, absolutely. I was, again, really surprised at how proficient the machine was with percussion. Especially with bass drums, snares.
That's what's got me interested. To be
So here, let's just pull up a few. I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Let me pull up a couple kicks. Just really nice percussive stuff.
The thing about it is, like, this doesn't sound like quintessential FM sounds.
Right. It's not exactly what I think of. Just fat kicks. And again, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. But it's a pretty wide range of sounds and textures coming from one box. And again, it's so easy to program, and to save your own presets is really just a few buttons away. And I found creating this preset bank that I would find something that I liked, and I could kind of stick on it for a while, adjust a few knobs, and get into a whole nother place, save it as something new without having to start fresh, start from scratch. It's really just easy to work with.
Yeah. Also, that's typical to pretty much all Elektron gear. Most importantly to these 2 devices is the reload function. Like you could just go into a pattern and mangle it all up however you want to, and change all this and that. And as long as you're working from a saved state, you could just hit reload and get right back into where you were going, like so. So I just did all this crazy repitch and delay and even reverb send to this drum rhythm, right? And I can go right back to reload. And it's right back to my save state. So that is like very quintessential for performing, which is why these things are, like, I really enjoy these things for performing. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the only way I even really use my samples. I've maybe made like maybe 1 or 2 songs with it, but in all honesty, I've been using my samples on stage as just my on stage drum machine and, you know, quick idea generator, you know what I mean? So is the LFO layout the same as far as being able to have a single LFO per track? And
it is. Having a really nice kind of sample and hold waveform to work with in terms of modulation, and also be able to adjust the chance knob per track, or globally if you're in the, you know, control all functionality.
Let's talk about that chance.
Yeah, oh man, that's the bomb right there.
Yeah, that's another crown jewel of both of these, and the machine drum, which holler to all my old machine drum users. I know you're still out there.
They're still out there, man.
That thing is a beast as well. But it's a percentage from 0 to 100 based off the chance that that sequence is gonna hit whatever notes that you laid out. And what's cool is when you turn that percentage down, you get lots of random grooves that you might not had came up with. So let's take the kick drum and let's turn the chance knob down to, I don't know, 32%. Now my kick is only gonna hit 32% of the time, and it's only gonna play the notes that I set 32% of the time. So it's really just creating a whole new rhythm on the fly. And what's clutch about it is I could do chants on all the tracks. So let me turn my kick back up to 100. Let's hold down track and let's turn that same knob. Now I'm affecting the track chants on every one of these tracks.
Instant breakdown.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Instant breakdown.
So what we were doing earlier, he's just playing a rhythm from there. I'm playing this drum rhythm, and I'm sort of just going in and out of like the track chance parameters per track and for all the tracks. And we were just, it felt like we were a live jam band kind of, with just 2 wonderful electronic devices by Elektron. And then what's also good is the new Transfer 1.4. That is like, the new Transfer is amazing as far as just being able to like take all of the stock sounds just out and then just throw all your samples in there via USB on the computer. And you could also like share projects from, you know, device to device. I have a very old beat up model samples that I didn't want to show on camera today, but I was actually able to take some of my project presets through Transfer 1.4, save those, and then put them on this new nice and shiny one. So
right?
I think it's pretty neat, man.
It is, man. I think that's something that's, again, very unique to Elektron, is that software integration, that the ability to save my sounds, my samples, my projects, all of that stuff, back them up, share them with other musicians. If we wanted to share projects ahead of time, you know, it's as simple as attaching it to an email. It's a pretty simple procedure through Transfer.
Yeah. And they're not big files.
They're very small, and they're very easy to move back and forth.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really appreciate that. Again, coming from a hardware world and modular and things where, you know, the turning off of a machine can really mean the loss of all your progress, and it can be kind of maddening. There's a lot of security in that I can save my projects, move them around, bring them back and forth. If I have different sets for different venues, different styles of music or whatever, I can upload, download all of my stuff easily through my laptop through USB.
Right. Man, I'm sold. I gotta get a Cycles. So, Elektron, hit me up. Hit me up. Well, that's all we got for today. It's been really fun jamming out with these wonderful devices. It's been really fun jamming with your sample pack as well, man. Thank you for that.
Thank you for jamming it.
And again, download Red Stripe Down's sample packs for both the model samples and the model cycles. we're going to get out of here, and we want everybody out there to stay safe and keep creating. I'm Fest Grandiose.
I'm Red Stripe Down.
Peace.
Peace.